Welcome back to the channel where we break down the stories shaping our world. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This is one update you won't want to miss. Following a high-stakes summit between Russian President Vladimir Putin and former US President Donald Trump in Alaska, the global political landscape shifted in an unexpected direction. Putin emerged from the talks with a bold declaration. He was prepared to pursue peace in Ukraine, but only under specific and controversial conditions. This announcement sent ripples through European capitals, where leaders were left scrambling to interpret what the new posture might mean for the fragile unity of the West. The optics of the summit alone were startling to many observers, a former US president still influential within his country, sitting face-to-face with a Russian leader. The meeting occurred in a private diplomatic setting that excluded both Ukraine and the European Union. Putin's proposal, outlined in cryptic language during his press briefing, included a call for Ukraine to recognize Russia's annexation of Crimea and accept the reality on the ground in Donbass. While he claimed this was a step toward ending hostilities, the demands appeared more like a formalization of what Russia had already taken by force. In return, he offered a reduction of military activity in some regions and hinted at potential prisoner exchanges and humanitarian corridors. For Western observers, the offer seemed less like a peace proposal and more like a rebranded ultimatum, one that undermined Ukrainian territorial integrity and the rules-based international order. Donald Trump, never shy about deviating from conventional diplomatic paths, praised the discussions as productive and hinted that Ukraine should consider making concessions to stop the killing. His remarks immediately ignited backlash across Europe, with critics accusing him of legitimizing territorial conquest and sending dangerous signals to autocratic leaders worldwide. European leaders, particularly those in Poland, the Baltic states, and Scandinavia, viewed the summit's aftermath as a potential unraveling of the unified front. It became increasingly clear that Europe could no longer rely solely on American alignment if it hoped to defend the principles it holds dear. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenksy, upon hearing of the proposal secondhand, expressed frustration and concern. He criticized the exclusion of Ukraine from the summit. He reaffirmed that his country would not trade land for peace. Any long-term resolution must be built on Ukraine's full sovereignty and territorial restoration. Zelensky emphasized that any negotiations involving Ukraine must include Ukraine, a point he reiterated to his European allies in a flurry of emergency calls. Meanwhile, European Union officials convened an extraordinary session in Brussels to coordinate their response. There was a palpable sense of urgency, with leaders worrying that Trump and Putin could preemptively shape the terms of peace in a way that marginalized Ukraine's interests. French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Annalena Baerbock led the charge in denouncing any proposal that rewarded aggression. Public reaction in Ukraine was swift and defiant. Mass demonstrations erupted in major cities with citizens waving Ukrainian flags. Protesters held signs reading, "No compromise on freedom and Crimea is Ukraine," voicing outrage at the thought of losing land after sacrificing so much. Ukrainian veterans, volunteers, and civilians alike declared they were prepared to fight indefinitely if that was what it took to preserve national unity. The Kremlin, however, portrayed the proposal as a generous offer. State-controlled media framed Putin as a statesman willing to compromise for the sake of global stability. In Moscow, pundits argued that Putin's initiative could lead to a new multipolar world order, one where Western dominance no longer dictated global terms. Global markets reacted nervously to the uncertainty, with energy prices fluctuating and defense stocks surging. In Ukraine, the military high command issued statements clarifying that their operations would continue unabated. Battlefield realities, not diplomatic pronouncements, would determine future lines of control. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg reiterated that Ukraine's future lay with the alliance, not in a backroom deal brokered without its consent. The United Nations called for inclusive dialogue involving all stakeholders, while China praised Putin's constructive approach. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch expressed concern that a rushed peace deal might ignore war crimes and civilian suffering. Amid all the noise, the Ukrainian people remained steadfast. Citizens from Odessa to Lviv expressed skepticism about the intentions behind the Alaska summit. As the world watched, the stakes remained extraordinarily high. The outcome would not only determine Ukraine's future but test the credibility of international law. The world now faces a moral and strategic test, whether to reward coercive diplomacy or stand firm in defense of sovereignty and justice. Any durable solution must emerge from partnership, not pressure. The choices made in the coming months will reverberate far beyond Eastern Europe, shaping the future of global order itself.